Well, good morning, viewers and listeners, any part of the world you are. We're coming to you from the Tobago Updates Television, and this is the program Beneath the Surface, where we introduce and interview and chat with all the members of the Tobago House of Assembly, and we hope to have the opposition as well, the councillors, and of course we have today one of the main persons in the Tobago House of Assembly, the presiding officer, Miss Abby Taylor. Madam Presiding Officer, welcome to this very special occasion where I had the opportunity to interview you. I never interviewed a presiding officer before. Thousands of interviews I did, you know.
Good morning, Mr.
Well, it's really a pleasure for me.
Thanks for having me.
How things going?
Everything is good and all. Good. Gearing up for Christmas, you know. So it's nice.
I could well imagine. How do you feel as presiding officer?
Wow, that is a harsh question because on one side I'm good because I'm getting the exposure, I'm getting to learn more about Tobago. We were just discussing that I have a background in history, so the legislature seems like a perfect fit for me because everything historical and everything Tobago I love to learn about. So on that end, it's good. On the other side, I am a mother. I'm a single mother of 3, so it's hard. Yes, it's hard balancing
the
balancing the
parenting
two.
too.
Yeah, it's hard balance. It's a balancing act between the two positions, but I'm weathering it quite well.
Yeah, and I think people having gaining a lot of respect from the general public in the way you handle it in a very professional and
Thank you
real
so much.
balanced manner, as you said. But tell us a little bit about your teenage years. We want to know what made you this person, charming, professional, and well balanced, and so on.
I think I owe that all to my upbringing. My mother, I was raised in a single parent home. My mother did a really good job with her 4 children. I am the last of 4.
I suspected that. I don't know what.
I am the last of 4 for my mother, the second to last for my deceased father. She really instilled in us that, you know, education is key. That was the theme throughout our household while growing up, and I think all now she passed that on to her grandkids as well. If you don't have an education, you don't have a proper foundation. So for us, education was the way out. I mean, it was hard for her. We saw that, we went through it, we lived it with her.
And I think, siblings.
Yes, I think it made us better for today because...
Well, who was your mother? I wonder if it's somebody I know.
Probably. Her name is Catherine Elizabeth Smart. Good morning, Katos. Yes,
morning, Miss Smart. I'm sure you're enjoying this program. You will enjoy this program this morning, Miss Smart. And I believe I know the person, you know,
Yes.
but maybe. And where you live? Where you came from?
I'm from Marysill. I literally...
Oh my gosh, I represented that area. Maybe I know the lady quite well.
I was born and bred in Marysill. I was born on my grandmother's couch.
In
Marysill, yes. And I grew up there all my life. I only just moved like last year. So I spent 37 years of my life in the village. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. I remember when I entered politics, that was one of the contentious issues. The road to go up to Mary's Hill, boy. Oh gosh, I tell you.
It's a work in progress.
Oh Lord, you were too young to maybe remember what it looked like. But you know, no drains on either side, and when rainfall, the drains just scatter all over that road going up the hill. And that was one of my first projects as an assemblyman.
Really?
To tackle what?
I should
People
say
warned
thank
me,
you.
they said, "We you want road fix."
I should say thank you for that.
Yeah, and it was a real task, you know, because you had to put like drains on both sides, you know, and
Yeah, because the village is very small.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the upbringing and so on. But you were kind of spoiled being the last one.
No, not at all. Not at all. I don't want to say much, but I got disciplined very often. Well into my teenage years, because I think I was all... Looking back now, I am totally different to who I was when I was younger. I was a little bit more robust and outspoken. I remember all my teachers used to write in my report card, Abby's a good student, but she talks too much. She needs to settle down. And that went from primary school all the way through secondary school. And I think it's only when I became a mother I kind of settled myself. And I'm not as outspoken as people think I am.
But you come across as a kind of no-nonsense polite person at the same time.
Again,
Nobody to advantage you.
attitudes I have adopted from my mother. My mother was and still is that type of no-nonsense person. You go to Marisol and you ask me for me smart, they most likely would say the lady who don't smile, because she doesn't. She doesn't. She's very strict and adamant about how things are to be. So I think I got that from her.
So as a single parent, she really did well.
She did her best. I mean, according to her, she said she has 4 of the best. I tend to agree with her. My eldest brother is a double PhD holder. My second eldest, he is based in the States. My second eldest brother is a guidance counselor and he's a pastor. My eldest brother also in the States is a pastor. My sister is a midwife, and then there's me. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're the historian and politician.
Oh, Lord.
Well, a politician
Yeah.
in terms of
Well,
presiding over a
yeah.
political entity, you know. But you really come across, and I said, but this lady looks so outspoken, and she was saying, what kind of bringing up, as we say, brought up citizen
Yeah,
we had,
trust
you know.
me. We had to toe the line with cattles. Had to.
But you had farms or agricultural thing and so on. You didn't have much space for that up there, but you had a little backyard
Life
garden.
in Mary's Hill was very, and it's still very much communal. My grandmother was my best friend growing up. I loved that woman. Unfortunately, she passed when I was 16 or 17. I just remember her telling stories because we have a big family. The Smart family is a very big family. So I grew up with all my cousins and my siblings. So when Puns would cook, everybody would eat. She would tell stories. She would beat drums. We were part of the Baptist community at one point in time. So we just grew up in a big family-oriented village. Everybody
Your
knew each
grandfather
other.
used to work in works, or
He worked at Tiantec.
Tiantec?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I think he was one of those persons who were taking me around at the time, you know.
Probably.
Yeah.
Calvin Smart.
Well, he don't talk and show
He
it
was-
too much,
he was
but he
a
will
hard
talk
talker.
to you very straightforward. You know, I think I remember Old Man Smart Man. I remember him quite well. But your responsibility, let's get to the DHA now, and your responsibility as presiding officer, what that includes.
Well, other than the obvious, presiding over meetings, ensuring that that the standing orders are adhered to. I think I also have a duty of responsibility to Tobago as to ensure that personally that members of the public understand what good governance is. And I don't think that part has been really embellished prior. Probably it was, but we need to start seeing evidence of good governance here in Tobago. And I would hope that throughout my tenure, I would work assiduously hard to ensure that the next generation coming up or the next presiding officer continues in that same foot.
I'm very interested in that particular part because what you're interested in is teaching and let them
Yeah.
see best practices
Yes.
and conduct and
Yeah,
even
because
decorum.
we are not supposed to learn that from politicians. I don't think most of our politicians are the best example for good governance. However, we recently came back from our UK study tour to the Scottish Parliament, and it was so interesting that they have an education division or education department that deals specifically with educating not only students but their people as to how to go about being good people of Scotland, understanding how
Leadership, teach
governance
leadership and
works
governance
exactly.
and so on.
And I think that's something that we like to adopt here in
Where that was
Tobago.
is a parliamentary
It was the
system, or
parliament.
is this procedure of government?
No, the department, the education department is within the parliament itself. So they go out and they reach out to their schools and they start from early.
So it's not like a ministry, or it's just under the parliament?
No, it's within the Scottish parliament itself.
The education ministry or system? They govern
that part of educating people where governance is concerned is
done by the
within the parliament itself. Yeah,
It's
it
part of
is
their
a part of the UK. The UK parliament also has a wide education sector as well. just
But that
teaching and
specifically is dealing with governance and leadership
yes,
and
yeah.
that sort of thing.
So that's something
Accountability as
that
a speaker as well.
correct, something that we here should
Yeah.
impose on our people as well. Because as I said, it's not up to. I don't think it should be the job of a politician to teach how things is supposed to happen. You
You're
should
not the best
come.
example.
Well, no, I don't think so. In my honest opinion, I don't think so. But I
But you
think
need to teach people to
you have
become
to teach people
responsible
how to become
politicians
correct.
or leaders.
When coming into it is not something that you have to. It's not an OJT kind of thing. You shouldn't be learning on the job. It's something that you should already know. And I think that's our responsibility, and I'm taking it on as my responsibility to carve out an education sector within the Assembly legislature that will not only teach good governance and best practice, but will also teach the history of our legislature.
And how you propose to tackle that? You'll tackle that from a primary school, secondary
Yeah.
school?
So what we just had Miss Sophia Cooper, our education and outreach program coordinator, and she does an excellent job.
Oh, yes.
Excellent,
She's brilliant for a
excellent
long
job.
time.
Excellent job of coming up with ideas. So she does.
So she's part of your team? Or
Of course, of course.
What is her position?
She is our, I don't want to mess up her name, but I call her
responsibility.
our communication/education person, because she comes up with the ideas and we just knock it, we tag team, we just knock it out of the park. So as soon as she says, Miss Taylor, I think this would be a good idea, I will take to her, Sophia, what do you think about this? And she'll like, yeah, that sounds good. So one of the things that we have outside of the youth debate that is primarily targets teenagers, and for the most part I think our teenagers are doing excellent. They're doing an excellent job where debates are concerned and understanding parliamentary protocol and practices and stuff like that. We also want to extend that to our primary school students, because of course educating and engaging doesn't start midway. We have to start from the beginning, and I think if we
So you're taking it to primary school?
yeah, I think if we start curating our children from an early age to understand what happens later on in their life, they will have a better appreciation for it.
I think so. I like the idea. I like some of these ideas that you have. It's serious. But tell us, let's go back to the decorum in the house.
Right.
And again, that is learning and understanding how it works. What kind of decorum? I mean, I looked briefly at the standing orders, and there is a big thing. When I say an important thing,
Yeah.
the decorum in the house, what you should do, how you should operate in the house.
Well,
Things like you can't smoke, you can't,
This
like
standing-
Williams used to have hearing aid in the ears and reading the Guardian and so on in the early days of Trinidad Parliament, you know. But what is the real decorum? What is required of these members of the Tobago House of Assembly?
Well, the standing orders basically are guidelines, the rules to the house, how to behave, how to act, how not to act, what is allowed, what's not allowed. The standing orders are also subject to change, because over time things will change, things evolve. But basically that's what it is. It's just the guidelines as to how to act and perform
But the
your
standing orders
duties
generally, they
within the
pick it
house.
out amidst parliamentary practice and these.
Correct.
other,
I mean, well, I am guessing that they would have had the foundation from other parliaments and stuff, because ours, and as chairman, as the standing orders committee, it needs some reform. I think it's a little bit too vague where things are concerned. We are silent on a lot of things, and where we are silent, we'll often look to the parliament for the answer. If not, we look outside. So yeah, it's a connection. It's a connection from England straight down to the Trinidad and Tobago Parliament.
Yeah, but these are evolving process.
It
you know,
is,
and,
it
and as
is.
you move along, you will see things that you need to change.
Of
so
course.
the standing orders need to be revisited from time
Yes,
to time.
and it will be. I am soon to call my committee to
You all
order.
have not met us yet.
No, we are meeting in December,
But the committee comprised of you as chairperson
and 4 other members
4 other members of the assembly.
of the yes, of the members
and
of
they
the House.
that could include councillors as well.
Of course, they must have a representative from the Minority Council.
Yeah, okay. Well, that is good, and look forward to seeing that, how it operates and so on. And I mean, good governance and good debating, quality of debate, you know, is extremely important.
Yes.
So how you control the house and how they speak and what they do when they speak, what will cause them to breach? Somebody make a comment. I see you pull up the chief secretary the other day and tell him to withdraw or to apologize.
Yeah.
Was it that?
I mean, well, there's this thing called parliamentary language. You can't call another member a liar or the person liar, and their standing order, I think what is the most famous standing order 44. You can't impute improper motives against a member. You would know all these things being a former member.
I was leader of assembly business
exactly.
at the time.
So it's things like that. I think when they get energized, they tend to forget that these things exist. So I kind of just pull in the reins a little bit. But the purpose of debate and debate is for it to be a healthy conversation. It's not for me to say you can't say that or what you can and cannot say. That's what debating is for. That's the premise of a debate, right?
But maybe you can't say what you want to say in a particular way.
Color within the lines. You can't go outside the box where these things are concerned.
So you can't call a person a liar, of course. You can't impute improper motives and so on. But what led to Watson Duke being escorted out? I was told that you didn't tell him to walk out. And I didn't tell the police to arrest him or anything.
I simply asked for him to leave.
What led to that?
Well, during a sitting, as you would know, I don't know if during your time they had the mic system set up. But when I went to, just a little bit backtracking, when I went to the UK Parliament, they have this thing called bobbing, where if during the session, if you want to catch the presiding officer's eye, they literally bob. They jump up like fish out of water and they bob, right? And whoever catches the presiding officer or the speaker of the house, they would allow them to have the floor. In our circumstance and according to our standing orders, that part remains the same. Whoever catches the presiding officer's eye.
Especially have more than one person.
Exactly. They would be allowed to have the floor to make their presentation or make a comment or whatever the case may be. In our case, we have advanced with technology. We have a mic system that all members have. So if you want to join the debate, you simply have to indicate via
you press this button.
That was done by Assemblyman Clark. And that's when I said the chair recognizes Assemblyman Clark at the time, you may join the debate. I don't know where it went awry after that. But I think he felt as if I wasn't paying attention to him, and I don't think that was the case any at all. I followed the standing orders. Whoever caught my eye, and by this technology that we have in the house, Assemblyman Clark caught my eye with him indicating via the device, the micing system, that, he wanted to join the debates. There's also consensus that could be had with the leader of assembly business and the minority as to the speaking orders and stuff like that. But if that isn't made aware to me, I'm going with the technology that's there.
Yeah, whoever.
Right? Added to that, when I'm on my feet, everybody knows you're supposed to have a seat. So anything other than that would be challenging the chair.
So he challenged you, apparently, that you're discriminating? Or
I would never. All my members are my honorable members, and I see them as that. I would never discriminate one against the other. That's not how I preside over the house. It's just that Assemblyman Clark caught my eye at that time.
Okay.
It's
And
unfortunate that he thought that's what happened, but that wasn't the case at all.
But there was a need for him to be escorted out based on that? Because he wasn't obnoxious or anything like that? I don't know.
Well,
I can't remember the details.
I think
I just wonder whether that was absolutely necessary
I
to
think
ask
what
him to leave.
persons need to understand is that, one, when I'm on my feet, you need to have a seat.
That's correct. That is true. And everybody should know that.
And everybody by now should know that. And that just did not happen.
Oh, I see. So he was in serious breach.
Yes. So
And disrespect.
I simply and for me, it's us setting an example and ensuring that the standing orders are followed. So that's basically the breakdown of what happened.
But is there sessions, especially in the beginning of this session of the assembly, the last 2 years or so, where at the beginning or before the thing actually started, in the early stages of this session, Were there training sessions or people, when I say training, where you explain what are some of the things, particularly with respect to the standing orders?
Oh, yeah.
Because this is what going to guide their debate and so on.
Remember, this is a fresh crop of members, myself included. I've never done this before. Some of the members, this is their first time. I think the only seasoned members in the House are Assemblyman Duke, Assemblyman Augustine, and Assemblyman B. Israel, right? Those are the only three.
Yeah, that's true.
Everybody else is new to this. So it was mandatory in my estimation that we do training. And I think this is the first crop of members that has had so much training in any one session, because we liaise so much with the Parliament and the Clerk of the House in Trinidad, well, former Mr. Sampson, and even now with Mr. Caesar, that we have our members trained in certain areas. Right off the bat, straight out the gates, we engage in training. I think in the first year, 2022, we had probably about 3 training sessions, 3 or 4 training sessions.
All members of the assembly who were invited.
Those who could make it, yes, everybody was invited to participate. Those who showed up got the training required. We made slides and stuff available for members. It's there. Everybody has access to it. And if persons require further training, they could also, make it known to the Secretariat. And that's what we are there for. We are there to provide administrative support as well.
And so that kind of thing will continue. Nevertheless, it was kind of important in the first early stages.
I mean,
but that kind of thing will continue.
It's always good because you're not going to know everything. And I think that's important to note. I have made a lot of mistakes within the last, simply because, 1, I didn't know, and 2, interpreting information, it's kind of it's a gray area, because you have the intent of the standing order or the law. You have the spirit of the law, where things who created it, this is what they purposed it to be, and then the actual law itself. I'm not a lawyer by training, and so we have had our mishaps along the way. Yes, nobody's perfect. So I tend to engage in a lot of training, a lot of consultations with lawyers, a lot of consultation with the Parliament. I traveled extensively this year with regards to the CPA. We went to the regional.
CPA is the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association.
Correct. So we went to the
I remember
regional.
during our time we were
You all had that as
accepted.
well. Right.
Yeah. Because in the beginning they said, well, we're not a parliament, and so on.
And we're still
eventually they came and we invited them here, and they said, listen, as far as we see, this is a parliamentary process you're all going through, and this is an assembly.
We are observers to the national parliament, where they are delegates and we are observers. So we recently returned from Ghana in October. The contingent consisted of the Deputy Presiding Officer, the Leader of Assembly Business, and the Minority Leader. And there, at the international conference, we had no voting rights, simply because we are not a lawmaking body. So we are observers to the process, and we are observers.
And you're always invited.
And we are always invited, right? So it's things like that, exposing our members to, I love those types of things, because I get to learn what other jurisdictions have and what they do. I've been able to make a lot of connections between the smaller islands. The Speaker of the House for Montserrat and the Speaker of the House for Nevis and I are very good friends. If I don't understand something, I'll run it by them. Tell me what your standing order. So as a matter of fact, I made it my duty when I left Turks and Caicos for the regional conference to collect all the standing orders of all the regional members, just to do a comparative analysis to see where we could probably beef up on some things, where we could take out on some things, because as I said, our standing orders, in my estimation, is a little bit vague, right? So it's and
it left too much to some of the things.
Yes,
left
too
much
to
for the
wonder.
national parliament.
Exactly.
You don't have to refer to the national parliament, and sometimes it may not be appropriate.
Correct. Yeah.
So you collect all these standing orders, and what will happen now? I mean, that is a fantastic start
Yeah.
to make
So
such comparisons and so on.
I hope I have enough time to go through, to kind of comb through all of the standing orders and literally just see what's similar, what's different, and how we could probably incorporate it if this is based on the jurisdiction or if this is an overarching thing as it pertains to the Commonwealth itself. I read Erskine and May religiously. I also read a book from the Australian Parliament because theirs is the second to the UK Parliament. Their parliamentary system is one of the best parliamentary systems.
That book is done by who?
I would get the name for you.
Oh, okay.
I would get the name, but it sits on my desk. So,
Yeah,
I have
because
to
I always
look.
follow these authors and
Yeah.
sometime and just try to see what
But
they're doing.
Erskine May, when I got in, everybody told me that's the Parliamentary Bible. So I take my time and I comb through it, and you could see where some things definitely exist, and you can see where there are other things that probably is because we are a small jurisdiction. I never know. People just felt that it wasn't necessary for us.
I heard about that Australian model, but I always
Yeah.
They say it was a kind of another version of May's parliamentary
Yeah.
practice, updated because May did that a couple of decades and decades ago, and
But
that
you can
was
always
used.
find good information in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how we move forward now with situation in the Tobago House of Assembly. There's special areas that you pay attention to when you're having a debate. Any particular thing, or you identify a breach in the
Well, I
standing
often
order?
refer to my standing orders.
And you
I
say
am
which section?
I am aided very, very competently by my clerk and my I want to say deputy clerk, but she's not. But she's so knowledgeable about everything.
Who is that?
One of my officers, Miss Delia O'Neill. I mean, she eats, breathes, and lives everything parliamentary. So she also guides me, and of course, where we don't ever have information, we also liaise with the National Parliament. So I have a very good working relationship with Miss Sampson. Should I say she's now the former clerk of the House, because she retired, I think, in October or September.
Thompson is her name?
Sampson, Miss Jackie Sampson.
Oh, Jackie Sampson.
Yes, by the way, she was
is the I don't know what to call it.
the longest serving clerk in the
Is clerk you call it?
Commonwealth. She was clerk of the House, yes.
Yes, clerk of the house. Yeah.
And then now
She is
she's
distinguished.
yes, she is. She
I
is
think they gave her a national award.
really.
Yeah, I think she got a national award some time ago. I said that was appropriate when I
She's
heard
a
it.
walking library.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
you know.
So I tend to check in with her often. So and she has been a tremendous help to us here.
You're telling me?
Yeah.
You know who was working close with her? A girl from Plymouth called. Anyway, she died while she was in the Parliament from Plymouth. I can't remember her name; just slipped me now. You know, but these folks, bring such wealth of knowledge to the system and helping us here in Tobago. I should say us. The parliamentary process here, the assembly procedures, and what people should do,
And not
where they
forgetting
could get.
to our former members of the House in Tobago here, because I reached out in the early stages of me taking up this post. I reached out to Mr. Charles, Mr. Hochoy Charles. I reached out to Mr. Beard, Mr. Max James. Persons who I knew personally, and that could have given me Mr. Jack, who could have given me some kind of advice where parliamentary procedures and things are concerned. So yeah, we have the wealth of information here as well, because remember that the Tobago House of Assembly is a creature of A&R Robinson's mind and his working and how he thought that we should operate here in Tobago. So who best than to check in with our own members who lived it, persons like yourself who went through this whole process and
Tell me something about how you go about. What are some of the rules of the debate that people must pay attention to, especially members of the House? The general rules, some of the critical things of the debate.
let me see if I could
When a person
think of
starts.
popular. Well,
First to
for
begin,
me, for
what-
me, it's don't interrupt members while they're on their feet. I think I repeat that a lot. Standing order 44. I think by now everybody knows standing order 44. When a member is on his feet, everybody's supposed to be quiet. Because remember, the house is an august chamber. It's an honorable place, and my members are honorable members, and they're supposed to conduct themselves with decorum, and they must be astute in their duties and all those good stuff. But sometimes, again, the nature of the beast is that sometimes things just get away, and I don't want to say it's the bacchanal. Some people like it, but we're supposed to maintain a certain
Order and
level.
decorum.
Yeah. So I tend to use standing order 44 a lot. Imputing improper motives. Again, you can't call people's name, and I think it's standing order 44.6. Address the name calling. You can't call members out of their designated positions. So I remember there was one time they used to call them F and F or something like that, Farley and Friends, or listen,
You can't call them those alias.
no alias.
Those political alias.
Yeah. So I tend to enforce that standing order as well.
So you can't call the person by their name.
No, you're supposed to call them by their designation. Either if they are attached to
Honorable Assemblyman,
yes,
so
if
and
they're
so.
attached to a
district.
a district, you call them by their title. If they're attached to a division, you could also use that as well. It's interchangeable. Or you could just call them honorable member. But keep it honorable. I think that's the key word here.
And sometimes people make comments about one another, very unfortunate comments. In the spirit of the debate, you're flowing and so on,
Yeah.
and you're throwing something, and sometimes you have to interrupt them.
retract,
Yeah, and maybe retract or something.
Retract the statement. Because remember too, all of this is recorded by Hansard. And you don't want a misrepresentation of someone being recorded. So if you're in breach, I would ask them to retract it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they have it in there. I can't remember, but in this assembly, previous assemblies, they have this clause that makes you not liable to legal proceedings or action. I can't remember the clause. What clause they call that, or what's?
There's protection in the house. Everything that is said within, similar to
You're
Parliament.
protected from taking legal
speech,
action.
The speech in the house
the
is
speech.
protected. Yeah.
But if someone was telling me, a legal person was telling me that, there could be some exceptions to that if you go extremely out of order with respect to that,
I've never seen that.
You never heard of that?
No, but I know that parliamentary languages and speech is protected in the house.
So if you libel, if you talk somebody very bad or say ill things about persons,
I would hope not.
but the person can't take it to court, or the offending person can't take it to court. But if you say it outside,
That's the
it's
idea
different.
of the protection within the house, yes.
Yeah, so they call it the protection clause or something?
I would get the standing order for you, but I know for a fact that the parliamentary language and speech is protected in the house.
In the earlies I know it was not protected, and I know when we were doing it over, they used to call it the Gerry McFarlane clause.
You were one of those?
I was very thing, because I was getting pressure all around from my from you want to do more for your community or your district, and then sometimes members of the assembly felt that Gerry wanted so much, and I was very outspoken and so on. And one of the things is that I was the youngest person in the assembly.
Right, so you have all that exuberance and
I didn't have patience with the time things taking and so on.
I understand.
I used to have to go through work people in the divisions. When the secretary not supporting something in another division, you want to feel coming. And I was an assistant secretary when I went in.
Wow.
So I had to be
you see
working.
where things haven't changed much, right?
The thing is true. It was something else. You had to find a way, and the newspapers and the limited media you have, they always contacting me because I always have some outburst or some complaint about some people, something happening. So people felt I was too much in the media.
When we were in Turks, that was one of the things that was brought up, and one of the things that that they actually carried to the international conference in Ghana is the workload of an assemblyman who also serves in a position as a secretary or an assistant secretary. It's a lot of parliamentarians are complaining about burnout. And how can they serve these two positions as astutely as possible? One is to ensure that your community
Or your
gets
district.
you. Yeah, I think I was listening to Assemblyman Pollard's interview with you, where he said that he had to apologize to his electoral district because he had his division to kind of sort out. And it's a real thing. It's something that happens throughout the region, and I'm guessing throughout the Commonwealth, that I don't know how they do it, how they serve both positions at the same time. You have a
It could be
burnout.
challenging, but I always tell every one of them when they ask me how it was done. And I did it with a bigger district,
Right.
as we have now. And also, we didn't have phones. I had cell phone. I had a landline only when I became a member of the assembly.
Okay.
They said that they're entitled to that. And afterwards,
landline?
cell phone, a landline. And after that, the cell phone came in, I think in early 90s or late 80s or something like that. But we used to have to struggle. I used to fight up to get on a program on 610 radio on the evening for half an hour just to tell people something or where I'll be or what matter I'm dealing with, and so on. That, of course, used to annoy other members of the assembly. But at the same time, you had to find ways to reach out to your community. I'm saying that those days I didn't even know assistance as a member of the assembly. But now you have people, assemblymen, having assistance in the different constituencies and the group and so on, with traveling and all kind of thing, and you can't reach out to these people. I'm saying that is totally unacceptable. I tell the chief secretary that, I tell Whitey that, all these people, that is unacceptable. You can't tell me you have an office or you're entitled to certain positions of assistance in your community and you can reach people because you hired doing your official duties as secretary or something. Find a way. A certain minister in Trinidad used to give his phone real number to one of his assistants to just make sure he respond or communication, somebody important happen, whether in parliament or what, this phone comes to the man and tell you, listen, this is a serious issue, you have to come and attend to it now, or something like that. This has to be done. You have to create the network and a system where you can respond to critical people's needs.
And I agree with you. It's all about creating something that works for you.
Yeah.
The legislature plays an important and a critical part in that because we are responsible for the electoral district offices. But
You
so
see?
much more can be done to help support
And just
our members.
I am saying if you just even utilize those same assistance or system that you have more appropriately, more effectively, you could have more done.
Okay, like take for instance for me, I as I said in the beginning, I'm a single mother. Last sitting, I had no one to watch my children. I was like literally
You had what?
No one. My kids are in school. School breaks at 2:30. They go to class for 3. I have no support where that is concerned. And I could only imagine how other members who are females, and I think the majority of our female members, some of them are single mothers as well. So as I said, it's a balancing act and it's about creating an ecosystem that works
But
for you.
you could arrange for some reliable or confidential person to pick up the children.
You would think that it's that easy, right? But it's not sometimes.
It's still difficult.
Yeah, it is difficult. It is.
I sometimes used to have, I used my wife to pick up children and things like that time, and so on. And eventually came a position where we had to have 2 vehicles, but that came even after.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you have to find a way to do these things, just you pick up children and so on, you get somebody or some good friend or relative or something, pick up your children. Sometimes they might have to go to class, you pick them up after class while you're debating in the house.
It's not as easy as it seems.
It could be a difficult thing, but I'm saying that we have enough technology right now to do some of these things. You have enough assistance around you to do some of these things. If you could just assign somebody working with you to see about to just pick up your children or something while you're having carrying out this important function of the Tobago House of Assembly, you know. What is wrong with sending one of your official vehicles or one of your officers or your assistant or something, you know, or some good friend, you pay them privately to do this thing. You know, I think that these kind of things should be looked at seriously, because I find now the district is a little smaller than during my time. You have more communications than during my time. You have more available resources at your disposal to do some of these things and to stay in contact with your community. You have secretaries with more responsibility now, so that if you have a problem with somebody, I mean, a fella in Plymouth, 2 feet off, living in an old breaking down house. You know, his wife died and his son is there trying to help. He can't go to school. And that thing going on for months. And we can't get an assemblyman, and that area is almost, that he's on the line between the two constituents and so on. We can't get somebody to deal with that after almost about a year and something. You know, these are the things that's paying me. And I just tell them like it is. You're not supposed to have that kind of thing going on. There's a guy in Palliative here, I think Whitey know about it as well. You know, in real, I don't want to describe it publicly. The conditions. These things must not, you must have people out there walking every street, knowing everything about, especially those who are poor and indigent and can't help themselves.
Well, I think this all boils down to participatory democracy and government. What you're explaining to me essentially is something that I think we could facilitate at the legislature, something that we recently, and it's what we discovered availed to us in our standing orders, is petitioning our members. So what we created at the legislature is something called an e-petition, where persons who are either disgruntled or they have an idea that they think could add to whatever we have going on here in Tobago, or a system that they think could work, they could come and they could go online and they could petition their members. And once it gets enough signature, because of course we live in a democracy, once we get enough signatures, this would go to the member in which the complaint is being forwarded to, or the suggestion is being made to. And hopefully it would make it onto the floor of the House as a debate.
I think that is an area that this assembly really needs.
But maybe you could come and help us kind of craft out something that could get the attention of the members. You never know.
We'll try and see what could work out. But some secretaries really have been so engaged in so many other things, you know. Just.
Well, I want to engage you. You're a former member.
Some of the other secretaries really have me engaged, but no problem. We could work out something. I could try and make some time. But we really need to do. That is an area that is, to me, needs great attention and better consideration for a more effective system in terms of representation of your community, and at the same time doing the balancing act, as you say, and performing your official duties as secretaries. Something had to be done with respect to that. I know the responsibilities on both sides is onerous, and you really have to do something to improve that. Members of the assembly, they could work out something on their own. Give people 2 or 3 phones, that their assistants could have a phone, this one could have a phone. In your district office, they have communication there and so on. Let these people not to sit down in offices, they walk the street and see what's happening in their constituency. And that is one of the reasons why I should say that. I'm not talking a little too much, but the new THA, one of the recommendations of the new THA Act, which that some people were saying forcefully, and I was against it, that you should have the same thing that you were talking about earlier in one of the conventions you went, that members of the assembly or representatives should divorce themselves from that and should keep those responsibilities, but don't take any official responsibilities like secretaries or ministers or so, because you want to do some work, you want to ensure that they serve the community well. I'm one of those persons that don't agree with that at all, because you don't have much resources, especially as a representative by yourself, but you have the resources to do something for your community, and you can't leave that some unelected person, you know, to be responsible for. I think they have that system in the States, you know, somewhere. to be responsible for what is achieved in your community, or they have the main resources and they could do what they want with it and not paying attention to what is happening in your constituency. You must have some responsibility as a secretary or assistant secretary or something like that to ensure that your constituency or district is well served and well taken care of. Although you might have a responsibility for the entire island in a particular discipline or so, you know, but we have to put this, especially in a small community like ours. You know, Tobago wants 16 square miles. You know, no, the furthest point, wherever you are, you're reaching in and say an hour. You know, and I'm saying that it's not too difficult to have people given the responsibility for the district, and at the same time, whether you're a secretary, to make sure that you have some role, responsible
so do you think
position.
that in that case, and I could converse with you because you were a former member, so you probably know the intimate parts of the law, the legislation, and how things operate. Do you think that it means that our electoral district staff needs to be a little bit more robust?
Of course.
That would mean that on
Give
our end, the
them more,
legislature,
they need to get more attention.
they need to have more money
you need
and
to
stuff like that.
respond to their, you need to respond to their complaints and issues with greater, with more seriousness. You know, quite a few people having problems in their districts and they're not attending to in serious time. You know, people make a complaint, all right, people make a complaint, you take the information at the district office, you pass it on to the assemblyman. The assemblyman don't have the resources to do that now. He had to talk to some other secretary who have the resources to treat with this issue. You know, that is some of the problems that it is have. So they have a situation now, we have like URP, could pay some attention to some of these people with broken down houses, bad houses, and do have proper access to the place, have outside toilets and that kind of thing, no proper water tanks or anything to have them, you know, the flooring mash up and so on. The white could tell you a lot of what is happening in some of these places. So we need to pay attention to that. It's not just getting a report to say Gerry McFarlane, who is a representative, and say, well, the assistants just send a report to me and just say that they put that in your office, you log it. Who is following up that? With Chief or Gerry, you know, from the assistant saying, Gerry, you know, this thing came from this person in BlackRock or something. We can't respond to it yet. You know, we need to respond to these people that are catching the tail. Some of them have no food. I mean, I am amazed some of these people I go and see from time to time, you know. I'll be calling and, I don't want to say talking down, but talking seriously to some of these representatives. People from all over the place call me about some issue. A boy going to Goodwood School, the mother dead, living in Plymouth, he can't get a transfer. He cannot get a transfer to a school down here. You know, all these things should be, them is things that should be done immediately, instantly. Deal with these people in these districts who have some serious issues. And to me, that is sadly lacking. People not doing enough. I'm not saying people ain't doing much, but people not doing enough.
What
and
I
in
can
good time.
guarantee you is that I would take this information back to the House Committee and see if we could resolve it and probably beef up on the staffing at the electoral district offices.
Yeah, not even. I mean, I see some people that
that
maybe
information could be
they need more, you know.
collected
But you need an
and more could be
effective,
done.
a more effective system of complaints, feedback, and repair whatever is to be repaired or correct whatever is to be corrected. You need that feedback. People complaining, you know, not that people complain and say what they want or what the issues are, but you must have a system where they complain, somebody attends to it and get back in quick time. In quick time, you know. And of course, one of the excuses, I will call it, but some people say it's not an excuse, is funds. You know, but if you could get funds to do specific things and so on, but the assemblymen, especially the secretaries, know how to get funds to do some of these special things. They know how to do it. They know how to go to the chief secretary and say, listen, we want some special funds. This is a special case. We need this. You know, the chief secretary, I know, ain't thinking on that at all. Pay attention to your communities, the indigent and those people in the community who can't make ends meet. If you know the amount of them.
And I'm hoping that when you have conversations with them, they could, you would be heard.
Yeah. So back to some of these things in the house that you should be attending to, the debate especially. You have functions. I know that in the past some of the presiding officers used to have activities in the different communities, and they were kind of apolitical. You know, of course, coming from Kelvin Child used to do it, and somebody else I can't remember used to have something done. Anything like that planned? I know you have an ambitious plan about educating people with this education thing, which is a nice project that you're talking about, educating the people about leadership and governance and so on. Extremely important.
I think we all have this duty, and I think it stems from my history background, that let me just make a plug of why it is so important to me. I didn't learn about Tobago's history until until I got back to Tobago. It wasn't something that I learned in school. Let me just put it like that. I learned about Caribbean history, I learned about Trinidad history, I never learned about Tobago's history. And I think it's so important that we keep on seeing things and people are like, oh, wow. And I'm like, this happened already. But if you don't know, you would never understand. And I think sometimes people talk from a place of ignorance because you just don't know, right?
True.
So in order to make an informed decision, you have to be informed. And I think it's important for us to start informing our young people. Even our older heads probably need a little bit of re-education, because our history wasn't written by us, so we need a revision of what we know. We need to unlearn some things, we need to learn some things. So it's very important and it's very critical for us at the legislature to show how our legislative history is intertwined with Tobago's history, and how prominent and the prominence of the legislative history is to Tobago. And to everything that we do.
That is so important.
It
you
is.
wouldn't believe. I think I had a discussion some years ago with Rita Pemberton.
Oh my gosh.
Was Rita?
Yes, Dr. Rita Pemberton.
Yeah, she's Tobago's historian, yeah. And that's one of the things that she wanted to do. I mean, I remember her trying to get something from Neil Wilson about Neil Wilson's life and so on, which is rich history. I don't think she eventually got through with that, but she is willing to do a number of things if she have the time. Suzanne Craig have a nice story and so on.
Tobago,
but you just talk about the history of the Tobago, the new history of the new Tobago House of Assembly. That is important, and I don't see anybody paying attention to that right now.
Anybody has captured
and
that.
I feel that is a major project that either Suzanne, or I'm not too sure how well Suzanne is now, Suzanne and Rita.
You're looking into my books and I don't want you in the business. Because in 2025, the legislature would be 200 years old. The building itself would be 200 years old, right? Making it the oldest functioning.
Because that is the original place where they were.
Correct. Legislature in Trinidad and Tobago, right? It's older than the Magnificent Seven, right? So the first thing when I came in, again, history, I'm like, wouldn't it be really cool if we could get a book on the legislative history of Tobago? So we started delving into that, and it's something that hopefully we could get done. When I looked at the different parts and what it would take to get us to a physical book, it's a lot of work. Because remember, our history scattered not only over the Caribbean, it's scattered in Europe as well. We have English history, we have French history, we have Dutch history. So it's trying to collate all of that into one book. It's going to take a lot. And hopefully, if we start now, if we don't finish by 2025, probably 2026, we could have a physical book capturing and detailing our legislative history.
But I am thinking that is more, I won't say more important, the later or the modern history of the new assembly, which started in 1980. Some attention should be paid to that, because they have their stories. As Hochel Charles Dr. Davidson not passed,
What we
all these
started
people
doing
passed,
in,
and so on, and we never really had a sit down with some of these people who is not well right now, and maybe I hope that he recover
we
very
started, you
soon.
know, we have a project called the Archive Project where we started interviewing past members of the House. It's an expensive feat to sit and talk with past members and try to house that into one. I think we would have gotten some information from Information Division as well, or department. But I keep on saying, if we don't tackle this now, we lose our history because our
And
members
because
are
people
going
are just
so fast.
going,
Yeah.
I mean, Jeff Davidson had this politics, Tobago versus the PNM.
Yeah.
Important document to give you the idea what was happening during that time before the THA came into, this THA came back into being.
Even to
and
the,
so on.
well, I am sure that you have seen the competition for the new legislature. Downstairs of the Assembly Legislature, there's a storage space that, for me, I think has all the annals from. When I was looking through, I saw something from Stanley Beard when he commissioned, or when he brought to the House the idea about the Heritage Festival. I think that was like in the 1980s. So it's important for us to archive our history and to show it and display it as organically as possible. Dr. Winston Murray, we could partner with him. It would be a dream of mine come true if we could partner with his daughter, Dr. Melita, and all the information that he has over in that building. Since he passed, he's just been locked up. And I mean, there are so many people that could contribute to this cause.
Yeah, you ought to set up something like a commission or something.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, set up a commission to just look at this and have people on that.
Mr. McFarlane, I'm going to tell you, come and work with us now. come by us and work with us, because...
You know, but it's really important. When I studied in the 1980s, when the new assembly, those first 2 terms were challenging, boy. I was not there on the first term, but from the second term, we met so much objections and obstacles, you know. I remember the bus couldn't pass from Plymouth to go back to Buku side and so on, because there's a place in Pleasant Prospect that the too narrow going across to the sea and all them kind of something. Going up to Palatine was another thing. After Hurricane Flora, Mount Dillon Hill washway, you know, Mount Dillon Road washway by the hurricane, you know. And we used to pass through another road to go down into Castara, which was narrow and kind of little treacherous. The new assembly came in and had to find a way. And the government was saying, no, you can't tackle that now because this is private people land. You have to go and get control, not control, or something, but so be commissioner surveys or somebody to acquire, and that taking a long time, and that is why all the roads in Tobago.
But
I tell you, we at the assembly decided, listen, we're going to talk to all those landowners, let them give you verbal permission or written permission, and start the road expansion and what in the place.
You see how important that process is to the,
exactly.
to the landscape of Tobago?
The government at the day was saying, you're breaking the law, you're not supposed to spend money on private land and all kind of crap.
That is what we're trying to capture.
That is the kind of thing, that is the kind of initiative and the determination, whether we break the law or not, we were doing it for the people's good. No money wasn't going in nobody's pocket. No personal money or no bribe or nothing like that. You're doing it for people's good. We talked to a man in Pleasant Prospect and said, listen, let me pass the road through your place. James, I think the man name, I'm not too sure if he's alive still. You know, because buses couldn't pass. We had to pass on the edge of the cliff to go down to Mount Irving from Blackrock, from Plymouth. On the edge of the cliff in Blackrock going up to Mount Pleasant Prospect.
Some people wouldn't understand what
they wouldn't understand what we went through.
Because we don't have it written anywhere.
I'm telling you.
That is important for us.
Very important. All these struggles, you know, and boy, look. Anyway, we have a lot more to talk. Abby, I really appreciate you coming. And we're having this kind of dialogue and this discussion, you know, but I feel it could establish some commission or something to look at the history of the THA. And maybe the first step should be look at the last 40 years, maybe. And then after that, you have other people working on the other part, because that will take a lot more research than this last 40 years. You know, so I'd be happy to give me ideas or so. I mean, other
We
members of the
welcome-
assembly have me
listen,
busy.
We are so appreciative of all the support that we have been getting from past members, the ideas of how to move the legislature forward. I mean, we have this brand new legislature on the horizon. Hopefully, it could be finished
The
in
fi- the
time.
building you're
The
talking about.
building could be finished in time for our 200th celebration. I mean, we appreciate your work so much. The steps that you all would have made to ensure that we can now run. But for me, it's important to document it.
Yeah.
It's important for
And
not my
part,
generation
and remember,
only.
part of the documentation is digitization.
Correct. And we have already started. We have
Taking all
already
those
started.
old files and all those old tapes
We have
and all
already
those
started.
documents.
I think the legislature is probably the first institution within the THA that started. So we have hit the ground running with our digitization project.
All those debates and so on too.
All our Hansard and stuff, you could find some of them even online right now on our website. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's good because that is a first step. But you could have that for generations instead of having it on these documents and these files these files.
But it's still important. Paper is still important.
Yes, as much as you could.
I love manuscripts and I love to feel paper, and I think there's a lot of people like that. But it's also important to preserve them in a different way.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think this has done it for us today. I mean, yes, I talk too much, right?
No. Healthy conversation. I appreciate this.
Well, I'm sure people are happy to see you and to chat with you and to see where you came from and the kind of person you are. I'm learning that for the first time, and I'm feeling proud to know that I think it's your grandfather, Smart, who passed away some time now.
Yes.
I feel he was one of the persons that was taking me around when I just entered politics. Mary Steele and all these people up close to Back Hill, he would come and walk with me and another guy, and so on. Must remember the Smart family for that. So you come from good heritage.
Yes. Proper stock.
So Abby, thanks again,
Thank
and
you so much,
we'll continue
Mr.
chatting.
Manfred,
And
of
I'm a phone call away, and
I
anything I
appreciate
can do,
that.
I can
Thank you so
really
much.
help. I really want when the chief secretary talk about being the best island on the planet. That is what must drive people in this place. We must take this not as a political thing, but all of us must be on board. We want to be proud to know that we are the best little island on the planet.
Agreed.
And there are a number of things. It's not the politicians to do that,
Yeah.
It's
No.
we, the ordinary people, the
was a
school
call to the
children.
people.
Yeah, ordinary people must push for that and demand whatever is required for all of us to feel proud when we reach that stage, or even for the dream to be the best little island on the planet.
Agreed.
That is what must drive everybody,
Agreed.
non-politically. Let us be the best little island on the planet. We have to change the attitude. I did with a secretary yesterday, and she said she should abolish the public service. She felt it was so not performing as it should. I'm saying it calls for serious reform of the public service. It's serious reform of our thinking of the average citizen on this island. We really need to push the place forward. A lot of things. Everybody had to be on board with this one main drive and mantra to be the best little island on the planet. So it calls for a lot of work.
It is.
A lot of
And it
planning,
will be done.
a lot
It
of
could be done.
commitment, and of course funding is required, but UNESCO and all these people are interested in doing the kind of history recording and that sort of thing. We could tap on them. Thanks again.
Thanks for
Have a blessed day.
I will, you too.
All right, good. Folks, brings us to the end of the program this morning. Very healthy discussion with Abby Taylor, presiding officer of the Tobago House of Assembly, and taking steps to really move this island forward in her way with the responsibilities that she has. See you tomorrow. Who we have tomorrow? I think it's Sertika. Sertika Williams. Yes, that's right. Sertika Williams or tomorrow. I wonder if she come here and behave herself and then let me talk like how the Prime Minister let's talk about her.
Well behaved.
As the Prime Minister, anyway, let me leave that alone. Sertika, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Have a lovely day, Abby, and we chat again. See you tomorrow, God's willing, viewers.